Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we're going to learn about Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was born in Spain in 1881. He had trouble in school, but his father, an art teacher, didn't mind as Pablo preferred to draw instead. He moved to Paris to attend art school when he was 23. He was quite poor and painted sad scenes. This was called his Blue Period. Picasso experimented with his art, and along with a friend, he created Cubism. Cubists painted objects from many angles and ignored round shapes and the rules of perspective. Did you know that Picasso created more than 20,000 pieces of art in his lifetime? He achieved much fame as well. He put a date on every piece of artwork he created because he wanted to create a timeline of his work. Today, we're going to create some very unusual Picasso portraits, and we're going to do it using a method called blind contour. Yep, you heard me. We're going to not use our eyes in order to create some of our work today. So let's get started. The materials that we will need for this project, Sharpie and paper. I'm going to be using a paper plate as a prop, and you'll see why, but you could also just use a blanket and cover your hand, or a paper bag, or actually anything, a sweatshirt, whatever you have handy. It'll be your choice as to what you decide to use to fill in and color in, if you even want to, your final product. So artist choice for that. All right, so here are the rules of what I call blind contour. So for blind contour, there's absolutely no looking at your paper. So whatever you're covering your hand with, you have to resist the urge to peek. 2, you have to use a continuous line. That means we're not going to keep picking our marker up off the paper. And if you do pick up your marker because your hand needs a break, you have to put it back in the same spot. And lastly, there are no mistakes. These will look very unusual, but do not get caught up with what it's supposed to look like. Picasso just used his lines and shapes to create what he saw in his artist's mind. So no mistakes, no erasing, and you will end up with a very unique piece of art. So in order to set up my plate as a prop, all I did was use some scissors to create a little tiny hole, and then I made it so that it would be big enough to fit my Sharpie so that I can still write, but I can't see what I'm writing. So this is a kind of a fail-safe, no-peek method. Again, if you don't have a paper plate, you can still do this by just covering your paper with a blanket or a sweatshirt, whatever you have handy, or simply by just not looking, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide on my subject matter. So because we're calling them portraits, they can be of a person. So you can choose yourself, look in the mirror, look on your Zoom screen, find somebody, find your sister, brother, whoever. It really is up to you. So this is one I've done of my daughter. Clearly, she doesn't look like this, but it's, again, a Picasso inspired art piece. Again, some others that I've done, family members, again, not looking, just using your blind contour method. So I have my prop. I have my daughter sitting here in front of me, and we're going to get started using our blind contour method. Now, you're not going to be able to see what I'm drawing, but I want you to get the idea of what it looks like to see someone else doing a blind contour, and understand that it's not going to look like you would expect it to, and that is the beauty of it. That's okay. Okay, so now I've got my paper positioned. I usually like to find where I might want to begin my art piece, and that way I'm actually on the paper. You wouldn't want to create something and have it not be on the paper. So now I'm going to begin, and I'm going to just take a look, probably starting with her arched in her eyebrow, then nose, kind of come up, maybe another eyebrow, eye, and I have to come over here and make another eye. So I'm going to just lift it up a tiny bit, but also drag my pen. Back down, maybe make lips. Know that there's going to be a chin and some ears, some hair. And when you think you've got it, you take your pen out And now here's where I can just do a few fine tuning things. Actually, I'm not going to do a whole lot to it because it's rather Picasso inspired. I will make a few more hair suggestions. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. So now I'm still trying to keep that loose style, but just add some hair and maybe the neck coming all the way, and then maybe this gesture of a shirt as well. So as you can see, if you wanted to go back in, you could maybe add a few more details, but we don't want to have too many in order to give us the perspective of, again, having that Picasso inspired look. So now I'm just going to sign my art at the bottom like Picasso would have. You could date it. And here's where you can be as creative as you want. You can choose to add color if you would desire. And again, it does not have to be anything in realistic because these are highly irregular. Using patterns in your art would be another gesture toward Cubism and Picasso. Or you could simply enjoy black and white. And again, do this a couple of different times, you can choose to look at your posters on the wall and do a famous athlete or whoever you desire. So I hope you enjoyed with making your Picasso inspired blind contour portraits. I can't wait to see what you're going to create.